Hello everyone and welcome to the most requested game from round 9 of this year's Tata Steel Chess Masters. It is Parham Maghsoodloo versus Warmerdam, and both of them really want to win this game. I mean, you want to win every game, but yeah, Maghsoodloo not having the best tournament. It's already round 9 and he's without a single victory, and he did lose 3 games in a row. That's incredible for a player of his caliber. I mean, someone who almost qualified for the FIDE Candidates tournament. It's not a crime to lose to Alireza Nodirbek and Wei Yi 3 games in a row, as they are also amazing players, but it's very unlikely for someone of Parham's strength. But okay, it did happen. He had a bad start. He would very much like to bounce back. And Max having a very, very decent tournament with a win against Parham in this round, he will catch up to the leaders. He will be half a point behind the current leaders of the event. So let's check it out and see why this is the most requested game of the round. Parham with the white pieces opens with pawn to d4. Pawn to d5, we have pawn to c4, pawn to e6, and now knight to c3. The Queen's Gambit decline is on the board, and now pawn to c5, the Tarrasch defense, as we've had already quite a few times in this event. C captures on d5, and now C captures on d4. Capturing on d5 is the main line. In some of the games that we've shown, we've had also the e3 line, but this is the main stuff. We have queen captures on d4, knight to c6, now attacking the queen. Of course, you cannot capture, as the queen on d4 would hang. We have queen back to d1, and now e captures on d5. We have queen captures on d5, and okay, this is a well-explored territory, the Schara Gambit, and black has tried many things here, like bishop to d7, bishop to e6, queen to e7, but not the move that Max played here. He played queen to c7, and it is now already as of move 7 that we have a completely new game. So let's see how you deal with this. The queens are obviously staying on the board. It's time to develop. Knight to f3. We have knight to f6, queen back to d3. As it's attacked by the knight, we have bishop to e6, preparing to bring the rook into the game, and now pawn to e3. Also, you could consider bishop to g5 before closing the structure, otherwise your bishop will be stuck on c1, but Parham goes for pawn to e3 first. We have pawn to a6, stopping any knight b5 ideas, and now knight to g5, putting pressure on that bishop. We have knight to b4, attacking the queen, and now queen back to b1. This is the only good square for the queen, otherwise rook to d8 could be very difficult to handle. Bishop to c4, now offering a trade of bishops, or threatening to play bishop captures on c1, which would prevent white from castling. And now you have to play pawn to a3 here. You could play some other moves like knight to f3, bishop to d2, but pawn to a3 is the absolute best. It was not played in the game. I just want to show you why. Point is that after bishop captures and rook captures, okay, the knight has to go back. You play knight c6, and now queen c2. You will play bishop to d2, castle queenside, and the game continues. However, in the game, Parham played knight g to e4, and now look at this. Queenside castles by Max. We have knight captures on f6, g captures, bishop captures, queen captures, and now just queen to e4, offering a queen trade, completely disregarding knight to c2 check that will win the rook on a1. So what did Parham had in mind here? Well, okay, queen captures on e4, makes sense, knight captures, and now first pawn to f5, getting the knight to a less enjoyable square, knight to g3, and now knight to c2 with check, just winning the rook on a1. So what is this? Why am I even showing you this game? Well, okay, let's see. King e2, knight captures on a1, and now, of course, bishop to d2. The knight cannot escape. Rook captures on a1 will happen. Even if the knight comes to c2, rook to c1 will skewer that knight, so you will win it. So here, bishop to g7, going after the b2 pawn. Rook captures on a1, and now pawn to f4, getting rid of the doubled f pawn to mess up white's pawn structure. But Parham not interested. He goes knight to f5, attacking the bishop. Bishop captures on b2, and the rook to b1. And okay, I mean, it's a nice position for a blitzer bullet, but it's hard to imagine that you would willingly go into this in a classical game. So okay, bishop back to a3, we have e captures on f4, and now rook h to e8 with check, bishop to e3, and now bishop back to f8. And you have this a position here, or just before bishop to f8, it would be much better to go rook e4, rook to b4, and then either trade rooks or get the rook to b2. This would be very strong for Max. But instead, he went the bishop back to f8, and now pawn to g4. Okay, Parham starts pushing his pawns on the king side. Pawn to b5. We have king f3, now comes rook to d3, just nicely activating the rooks. Knight to g3, and now rook to a3, going after the a2 pawn. So of course, yeah, you might defend it, but also knight to e4 is an idea, because after rook captures an a2, now the knight comes to f6 and attacks the rook and the h7 pawn. And once the h7 pawn is eliminated, then the other h pawn just marches forward. So what can you do here? Best for black would be something like rook to d8 or rook to e7. Let's say we go rook d8, knight captures on h7, and now bishop to g7, pawn to f5, preparing to trap the bishop with pawn to f6. Not trap it, but limit its mobility. But okay, you can play bishop d4, offer a trade of bishops, and after something like rook c1 check, king to b7, you will go knight g5, and it's a still better for black. Black is definitely better. Black is up for material, but I mean, there will always be the problem of the passed h pawn. So Max doesn't like this, and instead he goes for rook captures on e3. He gives up the exchange to get rid of any tricky moves. F captures, and now rook captures on h2, so you don't have to worry about losing the h7 pawn. And now the knight comes to d5. Okay, what is the plan here? We have king to b7, helping out with the defense of those pawns, and the situation on the clock is 24 minutes for Parham and 2 minutes only, or maybe 2.5 minutes for Max here. Rook to c1, trying to get the rook into the game. Now comes bishop to d6, stopping that, and pawn to e4, just preparing pawn to e5. Rook h3 check, king to e2, and now pawn to h6. We have pawn to e5 and bishop to b8, still keeping an eye on that c7 square. And now comes rook to d1. So 10 minutes were spent on playing this rook to d1 move, and it's not the absolute best way for Parham to play this, as now comes pawn to a5. We have rook back to a1, pawn to a4 now. We have rook to b1, putting pressure on the b5 pawn. Now king to c6, defending and attacking the knight on d5. Knight to b4 with check. We have king to b6. Both of them now have reached move 40, so additional time has been granted. King to d2, and now rook to h4, just going after these pawns. And again, it seems like white is just prolonging the inevitable. I mean, yeah, it's a better position for black. Okay, now materialistically you're only up a pawn, but still, those are two connected pass pawns on the queen side. You will probably pick off some pawns on the king side. It is winning for black. So knight to d5 with check, king to a5, and now you should play knight back to b4. Just stop black's counterplay on the queen side. But here, rook to c1 was played, and now look at this. Rook to h2 with check, king to d3, and now pawn to a3. How are you stopping this pawn from being queened? Rook to c8 is played, going after the bishop here. Now bishop to a7. We have rook to c7 attacking the bishop. Rook to h3 with check. King e4, and now bishop back to f2 while still guarding the a7 square. So okay, rook captures on f7, creating a pass pawn for Parham as well. And now bishop back to c5. We have rook to c7 going after the bishop, and now this is not the cleanest way to do it, as of course pawn to a2 is coming, and if you capture the bishop, then the pawn just promotes into a queen. But it's not a problem. Rook to c8, you don't care about that pawn becoming a queen, because you'll just deliver a check and pick up the queen on a1. So king a4, it's time to have king to b3 ready if a check occurs. Pawn to e6 now by Parham, going after a queen himself. And now, the correct way to do it is bishop to a3. You have to cut off the rook from guarding the a1 square, and now there's really nothing for white to do. White just resigns here. You could play something like rook to c3 to win the rook, but of course you don't care. You just bring a queen into the game, rook captures, and you will have a queen against the rook, of course, completely winning. Okay, it's still a passed e pawn and a passed f pawn, but it is winning for black. However, in the game, rook to a3 was played by Max. Seems like it does the exact same thing, but it doesn't. Look at this. Rook captures on c5, and now what's the idea? Well, the idea is if you play a1 queen, as was played in the game, now comes pawn to e7, and how do you stop that pawn? Well, there is a way. I'm going to show you the way. Or should I show you the way? Yeah, I'm going to show you the way. The way is queen to b1 check, and only after the king moves to e5 you will play queen to g6 to guard this queening square, and after rook to c8, preparing to bring the queen into the game, you will give a check, king to d6, and now queen to g6, and this will force a repetition. So this is how you get a draw here. Or if king to d7, it's actually winning for black. Rook to d3, you don't mind the white getting a queen because you'll capture the knight with check, and after king to c7, rook c5 check, king to b7, you will capture the queen, captures, and now play pawn to b4, and the position is objectively completely winning for black. The rook will not be able to stop. It's merely a matter of playing 2 moves with the king and advancing that pawn to victory, while this rook keeps an eye on these pawns. However, in the game, queen to h8 was played, which seems like it does the exact same thing. It guards the queening square. If, you know, somehow you prepare the advancement of the pawn, queen will start giving checks. But there is a huge problem here, as now there is one beautiful winning move for Parham. Feel free to pause the video and win the first game for Parham while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this incredible idea. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook all the way to c8. That's the move, and congratulations to everyone who found it. The idea is now, if you capture the rook, of course, you see what's happening. Queen captures on c8, knight b6 check, wins the queen, and then you will just promote this pawn into a queen. Even if you prepare with rook to a1 to stop it with rook to e1, the pawn is defended. You just push the second pawn. I mean, you don't really care. Everything is winning here for white. So instead, after rook to c8, queen to h7 check was played, giving a check, but now pawn to f5 and rook to g3. There's just no way to pile up on that white king. We have e8 queen. Now comes rook captures on g4 with check, and here king to e5 was played, and it was in this position on move 57 that Max Warmerdam resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. So really an incredible game with many ups and downs. Just Parham just giving up the exchange like he lost any and all interest in this tournament, because he did lose 3 games in a row and he didn't have a single win. But in the end, he emerges victorious. I mean, he's just a spectacular player. He's a beast. You know, whenever he plays, I mean, every game that you've seen that he lost, he played brilliantly. It's just that his opponents didn't really care. So here you resign because after queen to g7 check, there just aren't any checks anymore. King to d6, and that's it. You have to play something. Let's say queen b7. Now it's just time to checkmate the black king. Rook a8 check, king to b3 or something, queen to e3 check, king b2, you're going to deliver queen to c3 check, the knight helps out with that, king b1, and now rook to a1 will be checkmate. So really tough loss for Max Warmerdam. He was really hoping to win this one and join the leaders, or rather advance it to half a point behind the leaders, but it will not happen on this round. But still, 4 more rounds to go in the tournament, many chances for everyone. And now that Parham won his first game, who knows, maybe now Parham goes on a rampage. We'll see what happens. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I definitely agree. It was the absolute best game of the round. So hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Len Herbert, Yun Young, an anonymous person, Ulemse, and Christopher and Ruth Burkett for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check upon your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.